Okay, so I just got out of session with Laura, and I told her about the events that happened on Friday, but I know I made a video while I was still really triggered, but I want to tell you what happened in regards to the parts work, because I did parts work. So, you know, so Friday, I'm sitting in my room, air conditioner on, fan on. It's super loud. I can't hear anything outside of my room. And I hear my mom yell my name very frantically, Cindy, Cindy. And immediately, my trauma part activated. I jumped off of my bed before I even knew I had moved. And I ran to my dad's room first because I thought something had happened. And I'm like, where's mom? And he's like, she's not in here. And I heard her yell again. And that's when I went into the living room and found her with the old recliner, because we got a new one. And the old one, she'd gotten stuck in the doorway with it. Couldn't get it out. And when I realized it wasn't life and death, my angry fighter came out. And he started a fight with trauma. So they're battling it out, and that's when I had the rage attack. I yanked the chair into the house, and I was out back, and I smashed an old digital thermometer. It hadn't worked, but I smashed it into pieces, and I was yelling and I was screaming, and I went back into my room, and I was breathing like a bull ready to charge, like just really full of adrenaline. And my curiosity part, which is the 13th Doctor from Doctor Who, she tried to get in the middle of it, and at first she got swatted away, but she managed to call Angry off, my angry fighter. So, Monster vs. Godzilla. She called him off. She led him away. I imagine in my mind that she was leading him away. Like she was just annoying him enough to focus on her instead of me as the core. I'm the core. So, now I'm pinned between trauma and my black hole depression. Now, my sertraline, my antidepressant, it was like a force field over the event horizon of the black hole, so I wouldn't fall into the black hole. But I was pinned against the force field, and I could feel all that gravity just pulling on me. That black hole, it wanted me to fall down and get spaghettified. It wanted me gone. And trauma is, of course, standing in front of the black hole like this, blocking me in. Godzilla, he's towering tall, so it's like looking up like this at him. And then my inner critic, which is Rita Repulsa from the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, she is all in my ear going, why can't you control yourself? You need to learn to control yourself. This is why you're worthless. This is why you're trash. And I just kind of went, and I elbowed her in the face and made her go away. She just like, you give me such a headache, and left. And I'm in a standoff with trauma and the black hole. Because anytime I would try to move from the black hole, he would threaten me. My Godzilla parts do not speak English. They don't speak. They roar, they growl, they snarl, they make their noises. They don't say, I am hurt because blah blah. So I'm looking up at this massive part, this massive Godzilla. He's smaller than my angry part, but he's still way bigger than me. So I'm looking up at him, and I'm like, what hurt you? And, he wasn't going to answer me. But still, I was looking up at him, and I'm like, I'm sorry. Whatever hurt you, I'm sorry. What can I do to help? How can I help you? What can I do to calm you down? Because it was really hard to think when I was, in the accretion disk of the black hole. It's radioactive, it's bright, it's hard to see, it's hard to think, it's getting really hot. It's not a pleasant place to be. And it was about 45 minutes in my room. And then I went out and I got some ice cream because I wanted something cold because it was super hot weather. And then I went and I took a shower. And the water, it gave trauma something else to focus on. And it's like he got in the water and he swam away. He didn't feel calm, but like I was trying to soothe him. I picked up my figurine and I was cuddling and loving him and, being kind to him. And just trying to do something besides try to fight him all the time. I was trying to imagine I was petting him and being like, I'm sorry that you were awakened. I don't know what hurt you, but I'm sorry that you're hurt. I'm sorry that you feel bad. And when I got in the shower, the water kind of made him go away, and I could get away from the black hole instead of being sucked into it. And it was after the shower that my insight part popped up, and my insight is Piccolo from Dragon Ball Z. He's a new part. I haven't made a video about him, but he's a new part. And he, Piccolo doesn't talk much. He's a quiet part, but he was like, it was your mom's voice. And then he went back off to go meditate as he does. And that's when I was like, aha. The way my mom yelled for me was the way she would yell whenever my dad was having a medical crisis or an emergency, like he'd fallen or he was about to fall, or like he was having a UTI and he was out of control and my mom needed my help to keep him on the bed or whatever. But it was the same tone, and it activated my trauma before I even became consciously aware of it. And I told Laura all of this. I'm just out of a session with her. And, she was just like, you took this part's work and you ran with it, and it's helping you. And I am just shocked at how much work you did in that moment, in that period of time. And she called it progress. And she said, I want you to try to imagine your trauma part getting smaller. And I mean, it's Godzilla, so that's a bit hard to do, but I'm like, what if I make him as small as my figurine? And she's like, that's a good thing, but it probably won't happen all at once. So, because she's like, your trauma is not all of who you are. But it's big right now because you're working on it. But it won't be that big forever. So, my goal is to basically imagine my trauma part as being smaller. And it may not happen right away. Because she said, you're making progress, but it's not going to happen overnight. Rome wasn't built in a day. And I'm like, no, but Godzilla could destroy it in a day. And she laughed, and she's like, now I see why you love him so much. So, but I'm making progress. And she validated, the fear and the pain and the suicidal ideation that came out of the struggle of Friday. But she was proud of me for pulling it together instead of staying there. It's that I got away from the black hole instead of falling into it, because on New Year's Eve when my dad fell, I had the same rage attack, and I did kind of flash back to it a little bit. But I got stuck in the black hole and I couldn't get out, and on New Year's Day I was in bed non-functional. My mom had made me get up and go out with her because she was so afraid that I would not be alive when she came back. That's how scared my mom got for me on New Year's, the start of this year. And it's really haunting to think about it, how I had the same thing happen for a less dangerous reason. And instead of falling down, I got up. And that means something. And Laura says that means something. So I just have to keep doing what I'm doing. I have to keep practicing. But it's hard. I mean, that Friday after my shower and everything, I was tired. I mean, working on trauma is hard. But you gotta keep going. You can't give up. Because you can't let it win. And you're gonna have days that suck. But you gotta keep going. And I mean, if all you can do today is breathe, hey, breathe. I'm proud of you. But tomorrow, if you can fight a little more, fight a little more. But we gotta keep going. Gotta keep going.